Welcome to the weekly John Stillman with Vince Morales, John Adams again, and we're here for an hour to talk to you live on YouTube and hopefully get some response from our listeners. Let's go over the topics to start with. Lead off with the baseball. We got to go. No, we lead off with the Rams. Got to lead off with the Rams. Uh, they came back very nicely in the second half. Vince will have some comments on that. John will give us the sad report on the Charger opener. Also, Sam Darnold. That certainly deserves some conversation. We'll talk about that. Vince wants to talk about the USC, almost what he expected them to do in the farm in Stanford. John will hopefully give us some insight on UCLA. We'll talk about the talk about that. We'll talk about the Angels limping to the finish. They've got some nice kids in the farm system. We'll look at that a little bit. Ducks played well in the Vegas rookie face-off tournament. Not much going on with the Lakers or Clippers, although Luol Deng did sign with Minnesota, $2.4 million for 1 year. Best of luck to the Timberwolves. John will probably want to talk a little bit about the DMW final. Very nice finish for Tiger. So let's get started with the Rams. I watched the first half and most of the second half. It just looks like the first half, signs that they hadn't played together, signs that they didn't participate in the preseason, weren't clicking on all cylinders. I think McVay might have got out-coached just a little bit by John Gruden in that first half. They couldn't seem to get the ball to Todd Gurley. But, boy, what a difference the second half made. They looked like the Rams, who we all thought would be a serious Super Bowl contender. What's your take on that, Vin?
Yeah, there's no question that Oakland was flying high on emotion and hype. And so, I don't know that I agree that there was a lot of out coaching going on. Anybody who trades Khalil Mack is pretty much a dope in my book. So you've already missed that coaching train. Gruden's a good coach. He's going to be fine. It was all emotion, and you saw that. They were riding on emotion. They were overplaying, but that's an old team. A lot of veterans, not a lot of talent overall. Some good guys. Yeah, 9 catches for 180 yards. I mean, he was fantastic. But the bottom line is that the Rams are too good. The Rams were just too good. So they looked like their timing was off a little bit. The crowd was into it, but that crowd got quiet pretty quick. And the Rams were just terrific. And the scary thing, right? The scary thing is that Gurley didn't have a monster day, and Aaron Donald had 1 tackle. Right, wait till they unleash Aaron Donald. Right, so they shut the Raiders out in the second half.
Outscored them 23-0.
Yeah, exactly. They really looked like they started dialing it in. I think the thing is, I didn't feel like McVay got out coached. It didn't feel like that to me. It felt like he was over coaching at times. Hand the ball to Gurley, and they threw the ball a lot more than I was expecting. Again, they try to be quick, and it's like a video game, right? I mean, that's what it feels like. So, but they really started clicking, and the defense started pinning their ears back, and Carr made some just dreadful mistakes. That one interception
threw it right
that
to
he
the
was
guy.
Trying to throw, it looked like he was trying to throw it out of bounds, and it was 15 yards short of where it needed to be. That was brutal. I mean, that was brutal.
It's terrible, yeah.
I actually thought that the Raiders in the first half exposed a little bit of how you have to be successful against the Rams. And what I mean by that is Carr got rid of the ball in 3 seconds the first half a lot. And they were able to move
Yeah.
maybe less than that.
2.2.
2.2.
Yeah.
And they were able to actually move the football against them. And I actually quarter and a half to where I thought, wow, this is a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I totally agree with you. Him out and trying to overcoach and not using Gurley as much as, especially in the second half, when there were some times where the game was over with. In my mind, I'm sorry, I thought it was over with. They still wanted to throw, and I don't know if that was McVay wanting to kind of shove it down his throat or what he was trying to do there, but I thought they were passing a little bit more and not eating enough clock by running the football, which I thought that was 7 minutes left, 6 minutes left in the game. He's chucking the football left and right, and I'm
exactly.
like,
Well, John, up 13, and he's throwing the ball with 6 minutes left to go, and you've got 6.5, right? You're giving 6.5.
Yeah,
If you're better, you're going run the ball,
right?
choose some clock.
Yeah. So I actually saw some a little bit, and I don't know if you're right, Vince. You can talk about Sue and you talk about Don, but they got good guys on the end too, and they are getting to him fast. Now, that being said, if you can throw that football in 2.2 seconds and be able to hit guys, they could open that running game up a little bit. And so I thought they exposed them a little bit, but again, after a while, Phillips kind of figured it out. And I think the hard thing about like Donald is they're going so fast. And they're going in all different directions that even there was a roughing of the passer that I'm like, he got pushed into the guy. Like, so there's a lot of like.
It was such an athletic move to even get to him.
He
that's
trying to hurt him at all.
No, absolutely not.
But that's what's going to happen in football, where that's a punt, and now it's a first down, and possibly, I don't know, you never know, but another team could score off of that. And backs run downhill.
Right.
That from those guys that defense was running downhill. And the great thing about it is it never stopped. It just kept going and going and going. And what I noticed is they wore down Oakland. And
absolutely.
They really wore them down in the second half. And even Gruden knew that, right? To where I know that he threw a bad pick, but he was throwing the football out of bounds a lot in the second half.
A lot. And
a lot.
Chucky was pissed.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Chucky was...
He was giving you every face that he's ever given you in his life. He gave it to you. But I did see, if I'm a coach and I'm trying to prep for the Rams, I did see a way that the only way that you possibly can beat them is by having a quarterback that can get that release out fast, and you're throwing that ball between 5 to 20 yards only. Throw, because somebody's going to get a hand on you, somebody's going to get something on you.
Yeah.
But did you agree with that? Did
well,
you see that
absolutely. And again, the Rams were not very good against the run last season, and probably their undoing in the playoffs. And could be their undoing in the postseason this year as well. It's really the only thing they really need to shore up. But Phillips is perfectly happy to rush 4 and drop 7 in coverage. He's perfectly happy to do that. And there's going to be some soft spots there, but dink and dunk is not going to beat. Not going to beat them. You have to have a run game.
True.
And in the first half,
but the dink and dunk could open up the run
exactly.
game.
And in the first half, they had that. And a lot of that was emotion. They were playing on emotion. That great run by Lynch where he's carrying guys into the end zone from 3 yards out. It just felt like, wow, there's some momentum. But I never felt, as a fan, have way more talent than the Raiders. And without a guy like Khalil Mack, they put absolutely
that could have been a ball game.
They put absolutely no pressure on Goff, and he had so much time to just abuse them in the second half, and it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. Now, could he be sharper? Could he be better? Absolutely. And Derek Carr will be too. Yeah. But Goff's a better quarterback than Carr.
And I don't understand why they're throwing Woods so deep when they have Cooks that can outrun anybody on the field, and they're asking Woods to go like deep, and I'm like, what? He's more of a 20-yard guy, and he's sending them deep. Now he almost caught a touchdown.
Exactly.
There is nobody on this earth that can actually keep up with Cooks. Let him go. send him down there and then send him into that corner.
And I thought he was stronger, but he is smaller. Sending Cooks, I mean, you can't send the guy downfield 40 yards every time. I mean, he's going to burn.
But he caught the ball across the middle and got hit a couple times, and he held on the football. And it was, you know, for a little guy, he can take it. He can take that hit, which I was impressed with.
But sometimes I think you got to send the bigger guy. You know, Woods is not super big, but you know he's taller than Cooks.
And the other thing I liked is the Rams have depth at running back. I mean, you know, there's a kid behind him that I don't know, but they even got the kid Kelly that's behind that guy, and he runs downhill. So if Gurley has to sit, it looks like McVay's okay with that. Like he's, so I think they're balanced. They're really balanced, and I'll tell you, they have a great kicker, they have a great punter, and you can tell that the Rams have bought themselves for 2 years, and if they can't get that and get money here in the next 2 years to some big boys, and you're not going to be able to hold on to the Talibs and all these other guys.
They had, I think the Raiders had like 5 offensive holding penalties in the first half. You knew that,
and they were crucial.
Donald and those guys were doing. Yeah, they were doing a job.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Corey Littleton. Everybody was talking. If there's going to be a weak spot for the Rams, it's going to be in that linebacker core. But Phillips runs the 3-4, and he really relies on the backers. And Littleton had 11 tackles, 2 for loss. He was just phenomenal.
Yeah, the linebacker.
Yeah, and he also had an interception, and then Marcus Peters with the pick 6.
Yeah. And that was completely red. Like that was like here, I'm going there, and he just cut right around the guy, and it was just
when that receiver is going full speed in the first half. But at that point, when you're down and you're a little bit beat up and you're coming across, on that crossing pattern, and you're not going full speed, Peters jumped around it.
Yeah,
right?
No, he did. Yeah, he went right around it.
He came around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it was a great read.
Yeah, a good receiver gets to that spot, seals him off, knows where his.
But I looked at it from
and
they showed it from the back. I mean, he never took his eyes off the guy. I mean, it was just like, I'm going there. I'm going there.
That's where he was going.
I'm going there.
Yeah, because he had gone there a bunch of times before, and
I think the Raiders did find a good weapon now in Cook. I think he's 6'7" or 6'6", and he's a big because they lost Crabtree, right? And Cooper's just getting double teamed the whole entire time.
Yeah,
that's why you're not seeing him. So
Jordy Nelson only three receptions. I don't know that he.
I just don't know if Jordy. No, and I think that's he could probably run a route blindfolded for Rodgers and make a turn, and that he would catch it right. They just knew each other, and I just think this is a whole thing where they're still gonna have to. They're still learning. Again, what do you play, a quarter maybe a piece, or 4 downs in the preseason?
Right.
Like you really don't know,
right.
But I think Jordy Nelson, if they can get on the same page, that's gonna help a lot there. But that's a 2-year plan there too in Oakland. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of enthusiasm up there, obviously. All the crazies were out.
And all the Chucky dolls. That was cool.
Yeah.
There was a billion of them in the stands in Raider garb. Chucky.
What about the Chargers, John? At least let me say one thing.
Okay.
At least we didn't lose on because we.
That's just, and I don't know. I haven't been to a Rams game yet. But before we even talk to the Chargers, I want to throw this out to you guys. Is Southern California an NFL town? Should it have an NFL franchise?
It's a one-team town.
It is a one-team town.
It's a one
exactly.
NFL
but
team
but
town.
my question is this: when I see a one-team town, right? I see a Pittsburgh, I see a Philadelphia,
Cincinnati,
I see Kansas City, I see Seattle. I totally agree that it's a one-team. Okay, but you still. Again, I haven't been to a Rams game, but is there a lot of opposing fans that go to a Rams game to where, well, you don't see that in Pittsburgh, you don't see that in Kansas City, Yeah, and it's still frustrating that it's only 27,000 people that fill that little stadium, and that place was not more. And I just don't understand that. It's just, I know that we're a melting pot here in Southern California, but it's hard for, I think a majority of these people buy these for investment to sell. I don't even know if they even go, like, even they care about football, right? That doesn't happen in these other towns, right? And it's so frustrating to see that the Chargers, every game is almost an away game. I mean, you can't hear the people booing because they're pissed off because they're playing so bad, because there's so many Kansas City Chiefs fans screaming,
exactly,
yelling. And I wanted to ask you guys that question. Is it a town where they deserve to have an NFL football team that's going to have support?
Yeah, one team, like Vinny says.
Yeah, that's how it feels to me. But I mean, let's be very, very frank. If a team is winning, they'll show up. 27,000 tickets. That's not a lot, right? And if you're looking at it and going, I'm going to go to this game and this game and this game, and I'm going to sell these, and I'm going to make my nut back.
Right.
That's just how LA fans are about everything.
And I just feel, and when you,
this ain't Green Bay.
Right, or Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh, or Kansas, you're like, sell those? Are you kidding me? Like, your grandpa gave you those, or your dad gave you those, or it's more of a religion everywhere else.
Green Bay wouldn't let somebody supporting the visiting team. They wouldn't let them into the stands.
Well, I mean, Philadelphia, you almost, like, if you wear an opposing jersey, you got a chance of ending up in a body bag. I mean, but that's just the way they are, because it's passionate.
Passionate,
they're
very passionate.
I just don't feel that we have passionate fans here, right? And again, here am I. I'm in my room screaming, out. Exactly. Yeah. So I wanted to throw that out at you guys before I even talk to you about the Chargers, because it's got to be tough as a football player. Maybe it's a football player coming from LSU, and it's a football player coming from Clemson, or it's a football player coming from these colleges where it's a religion, and they're coming into the stadium. They're like, oh my gosh, it's not even a home game. Like, it's got to be tough. I don't know. Do you think it is? Do you not think it is?
The Rams are obviously going to have a pretty successful season. They stay healthy. Are they going to be deluged by fans from other teams in their games at the Coliseum? I don't know.
It's a big enough place to where you're never going to see a deluge. It's just not going to be like that. I mean, there are going to be plenty of times when there's plenty of seats to go around, right? So when the opponents are in there, they're gonna always have a good showing. Attended game like a USC game, you just, it's gonna be enough to drown it out. 27,000, it's so intimate that there's gonna be problems, and it's gonna feel that way. But the thing is, it's like, if it feels like that complaint, where it's like, why are you throwing in the fourth quarter? Why you it's like, you don't want me to score? Then stop me, right? So the same thing here is like, if you don't want to hear the opposing fans screaming, beat them, win.
Yeah.
And this, you got to put together the winning team first. If the difference in If fans think that the difference is that there were too many Kansas City Chiefs fans there, look, it's frustrating. I get it. It sucks. It sucks. Not ready to win. And it wasn't the difference between winning and losing. It was a team that was better. Mahomes is a good quarterback. Yeah. And Tyreek Hill, he's pretty freaking good. So
and why you kick it to him, I have no idea. But you do, right? It's just it was a typical start to the Chargers season. I hope we don't play like this and then end up getting the playoffs by one.
This is a defense without Joey Bosa,
right? And that's
not
I
sure
think
when he's coming back.
And it doesn't surprise me if we get something here down the road that says Joey Bosa's season's done. I mean, it's an injury on his left foot that is actually different from what he just came off of, and he's in a walking boot, and they don't know how much longer it's going to be. So, I mean, and that guy,
Yeah.
as everybody knows, it's like a Khalil Mack. They actually scheme how he can disturb an offense, right? I totally agree with you, Vince. They were the better team. I mean, Phillip Rivers throws for over 400 yards. And, you know, we miss another field goal. We have a bad special teams. You know, it was just a typical what to expect from a start for a Charger season. And, you know, thank goodness we go to Buffalo next
Exactly.
week, right?
Yeah,
So,
they got to get well quick.
and then, so
Yeah, Nate. Whatever the question is, Nathan Peterman is not the answer unless the question is how do the Chargers get better next week. Well,
I mean,
they played
you look
Nathan
at
Peterman.
Bosa. I think Bosa last year had, or in 28 career games, he has 23 sacks and 147 tackles. Right, and you don't have that, right? You have a backup from Notre Dame and another. You know, overall, I mean, what I did like is, you know, they never gave up. It was it could have been easy to give up. They kind of hung in there, but again, it was
Overmatched.
Mahomes looked great, and then this is not even with their big defensive back who was out with a heel problem, but you know, they ran the ball, they passed the ball, they had special teams, just a better.
Well, they lost 19 in a row or something.
Yeah, that
To
was
the Chiefs.
Yeah,
They haven't beaten the Chiefs
he
in
was
years.
and I think he got out coached. You know, as another thing. So, not a good start, but hopefully it's just a slap in the face and they get themselves back on the right way again. And you know, all stars are aligned to hopefully get back on the winning side next week. You know, going. And then, you know, and he's going back to his, you know, that's where he used to coach. So
Exactly. Yeah. There were a lot of
and a lot of drop balls too. That was the other thing I missed
my
to say.
God.
Yeah,
It's mainly.
Oh
I mean,
my
how
God.
many drop balls? Like,
Oh, it was brutal.
I mean, it was bad. Like,
Brutal.
I mean, you got. I mean, Rivers is just going to. I can't throw it any better to you.
Yeah.
You know, so that was another thing. So
a lot of fun games this week. A lot of upsets. A lot of surprising results. Let's talk about Sam Darnold first, who got off to a miserable start, joining
what are you talking about? His first throw was a touchdown.
Absolutely. Just
exactly.
into the
The problem
wrong
is it's the
team.
wrong.
Brett
wrong
Favre
person.
and Jameis Winston are in that elite group.
Yeah.
But boy, did he turn it around! And like he said in the interview, he didn't. You know, he just turned the page. And let's not worry about.
Mentality, almost like a
Absolutely.
poker face. He's very
Yeah.
calm and he doesn't look like anything gets to him. Bowles is a phenomenal coach. I think that's a great pickup for the Jets to have him. That defense is pretty darn good,
Yes.
and so I think that you know, if they can continue to run the ball game. I mean, he even threw for 200 yards, right?
198.
Yeah, 198, and still, you know, was able, obviously because of the defense, put a lot of points on the board. But again, it was very smooth sailing, right? And
Yeah,
it was
after
funny,
the pick,
Dad was wearing a San Clemente High School basketball shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
saw
Triton
that.
basketball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
saw that.
They got a call out on national TV.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
That probably hasn't happened since Dean Garrett was playing for a national title, right?
Exactly.
That's the most points the Jets have ever scored on the road.
And on the
48.
flip side, the Detroit Lions are really he's there long. I just don't see him as a head
He was
coach.
awful.
He's a coordinator. It was, well, again, his players weren't the best. I mean, his quarterback threw 5 interceptions, but they just don't look good from start. I mean, they don't look good at all.
He was
they
never.
might be the
Stafford was never comfortable.
No.
No.
And it started with those all blue uniforms. I mean, they looked like they were in pajamas or like emergency room scrubs or something. It was brutal. And oh my God, the best part was the shots of the Detroit fans in like the fourth quarter. Like, I can't believe I'm still sitting here.
Yeah, but
This
that's
is
the other
great.
thing. I started looking at it. He doesn't have any weapons either. Like
No,
Stafford,
no.
there's nobody there that's
No.
a wow factor. Like,
No.
I mean, he used to have Megatron, right? He used to be able to Calvin Johnson throw it up in the air, and that guy would catch it. And he used to have help on the other side. He's got like Tate, and I don't know who else he's got on the receiving corps.
Tate's the
pour more money into defense or what? Because there's nobody that's a wow factor on that team. He's slinging it to whoever, he's slinging it to blue blur, and hopefully somebody catches it. But
Darnold definitely outplayed him, and
Oh, yeah.
that's not Stafford's fault.
Yeah.
Like you say, he's got no weapons. He's got no nowhere to go.
yeah, they could be the next. Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I think the thing for Darnold fans and for Jets fans, that's not going to happen every week. That was a really crappy Detroit team.
Yeah.
It wasn't too good.
That was like the perfect storm, right? The perfect storm. So the Jets are definitely going to be a little bit better. Their defense is really good, right? But Darnold's going to make mistakes.
Right.
He's going.
He always did. He did.
He's going to make mistakes. It's how he recovers and how he. And if you 200 yards a game, that's okay as long as he's got more touchdown passes than interceptions. With that defense, they're likely to they could win 8 games.
I'm actually surprised they kept him in. I thought for sure they're like, we're up by 25, 30.
Just keep giving him the reps.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep giving him reps.
Yeah.
I guess
it's good.
it wasn't like they were getting to him.
But if they can get, is it Crowell? I think Crowell, is that how you say it? The running back. They can get him to run the ball and they can block. So I think like they looks like they found their offensive, quarterback. Obviously, their defense is solid. So now they just need to spend money on offensive linemen and running backs. The receivers are receivers. It looks like he's finding them. But I think the Jets in the next couple of years could be somebody to think about too. So
It was a nice beginning and a nice start for.
Yeah.
and Rose.
Arizona's a dumpster fire. I just all together,
Yeah.
that's a dumpster fire down there.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are just bad, and Bradford is.
Bradford
I mean, it's Rosen's job to win, and they will, but don't throw him in until you can keep him on his feet,
Yeah,
right,
okay.
off his back, right?
Yeah.
Because Rosen is delicate.
Yeah, that's true.
Cleveland finally avoided a loss. Got that tie with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they should have won that game.
They should have.
Yeah.
They could have won it in regulation.
Yep,
They could have won
yep.
it in overtime.
I saw something on Twitter that was just great. It's like one of the best headlines ever, and it was Cleveland off to their best start since 2004 with a tie, right? 0-0-1. Their best start since 2004. That's
That's a good one,
hilarious,
yeah.
right? I mean, it was just only Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Only Cleveland.
And it looks like the kid that fit in for Bell actually held his own and got 160 something yards.
He still hasn't signed, has he?
Nope. I don't think
Le'Veon
they're
Bell.
talking about him not signing until like week 10 or something like that. So, I don't
Until
know.
he can pass a drug test or something.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
It had to do something about the contract and how he'll just come in, or they'll trade him away, or something to do with. Is there a trading deadline maybe at week 10 or something like that? I don't know. Something.
I don't know.
There
Not
must
sure.
be some contract guarantee
Yeah.
or something that he doesn't lose his years of service or something. A little different than the Donald situation, but it's going to continue to be a problem and a sore spot. And
Well, you got
Plus,
a lot of
he-
stuff going on in the locker room there too.
Yeah,
Now
I was
the
gonna
offensive
say, they
linemen
don't-
are kind of saying, "Hey, look." Pouncey's trying to say that now, and a couple other big guys that are veteran linemen are kind of saying, it's not like we just sat there and went Olay and you did all the work yourself. You know what? We're in here busting our butt. Why don't you come in here? But again, it's these guys talk about longevity, and running backs usually don't last that long.
right, and that's the new normal in the
3.5
NFL, and
years
has
or
been for
something.
a while.
Yeah.
It's just like you just don't pay a running back.
Yeah.
Don't pay a running back
Except Todd Gurley.
except
Right.
Gurley.
What about USC, Vince? about what you expected up
No,
at
no.
Stanford?
I mean, I expected more offensively. The defense played, I thought, pretty well. I thought the defense was pretty good. You know, I get frustrated with T. Martin, who I don't think is a very good offensive coordinator. Some people love him, and it do to get their new rookie quarterback or their young quarterback acclimated. They make some adjustments, they adapt some things, they simplify things, streamline it. He doesn't feel like he's doing that. It's pretty much like, hey, this is my offense. Can you run it? If you can't run it, you know, let's try somebody else because you need to run it. And it's one of those things where you just keep looking. It's like, roll him out a little bit. You know, misdirection. Let's get him out of there. Let's keep him safe. Let's see what he can do. And the other thing is that 2 weeks ago, he was connecting on some quick hitters. When they were playing with some pace and little slants and little quick hitters and little crossing patterns and some, you know, multiple level stuff, he was doing pretty good. I mean, as good as you can expect from a young guy.
Right.
And again, my expectations were not super high. He put the Stanford game in the loss column from the outset, but it's disappointing to not even put a touchdown on the board.
No, that hasn't happened in a while.
And that continues to be a T. Martin bugaboo. Red zone offense is crappy. He just doesn't call it, and he's not making the adjustments, and it was disappointing. And now, you know, people are again, some of the old refrains are starting to come out. This is a blue blood program. How in the hell did we get stuck with Clay Helton? This is, you know, I had a friend today text me that, you know, he'd be happy with a Colorado State coaching job. Yet he's sort of stumbled into the USC coaching job, and honestly, and I've said it before too, right? You give him a break. He's won some games. He did a good job with Darnold. He can win. School that would even consider him for their head coaching job.
Nope.
As far as I'm
Exactly.
concerned,
You're
not
right.
one SEC, and there are probably only a few ACC teams, and but this is sort of the mentality, right? Because he's a good guy, and you don't want any more Lane Kiffins and Steve Drunk Sarkisians. You wanted to move on from that, right? So he's a clean guy. He's a God-loving man. So that's what Lynn Swan and the administration want. And USC fans just can't expect that they just put their helmets out there and get 10 wins every year. This is a kid who should be a senior in high school. He's young. If he got the starting job, then Fink and Sears must not be ready. Right? Okay? They just must not. He will be the starter for 4 years. He's going to have to grow into it. But T. Martin has got to dumb it down a little bit for him, right?
Well,
and if anybody knows dumb, it's T.
If I'm Jack Sears, I think about transferring.
I agree with that. I texted somebody that I think that's going to happen. I don't think Jack Sears is.
Even if Daniels is there for 2 years and Sears is, then a senior, they'll bring in another star prep guy to.
Well, I don't think you're going to go get a 5-star guy because if unless that coach can say JT's out of here after this next year, I mean, and they kind of know that. But you know, Vince, I think he's got a lot of potential. I really do.
Yeah.
I think the kid's going to be a good quarterback. But if I'm a 500 or just above 500 ball club this year, you got to fire T. Martin, or you got to go up and say that, you know, or you get rid of them both. But
Exactly.
a 3.5 star. You probably got a 4-star coach and a 3-star offensive coordinator, and
They're bringing in talent.
no
They
doubt
are.
about it. They're
Oh,
great
yeah.
recruiters. They're
Yeah.
great recruiters, right? I know that the history of the school and the school itself sells a lot, but they are bringing in great talent. But I think the first thing you do is you say, T. Martin, you're gone. We're going to go find another offense coordinator, and I don't know if it's a quarterbacks coach or somebody that's an offensive line coach that moves up. You go find somebody that can actually fit with the program. But I agree with you, Vince. They don't. The coaching staff doesn't equal the talent at
The
some
talent.
Yeah, the
level, that's
problem
right.
is Clay Helton is a quarterback coach. I mean, that's right. That's
Right.
his thing. So if you're not getting it done with Clay Helton, so there was a very provocative article in the Mercury News by John Wilner, and the title of the article should. There's plenty of talent, but it doesn't. So he goes on to make the point that since Helton was named the head coach, and of course it doesn't take into account his interim games, and it skews it a little bit in that regard. But since Helton was named the head coach late in 2015, USC has played 7 games without Darnold as the starter. They are 2-5 overall and 0-5 versus Power 5 teams. In
There you
those
go.
games, they average 12.4 points per game. They've lost by 10 or more points 4 times out of those 7 games. They have 1 or 0 touchdowns in 3 of those games.
I think that says it
That
all
is
right
not,
there.
and so
Wow.
look, he did some good work with Darnold to get him ready and get him prepped, but that the Ed. And if it doesn't happen against Texas, which it might not, but that's a Texas team that lost to a a bad, not a terrible Maryland team, but under some adversity with
Yeah,
the
for sure.
death there and the program being under and the administration coming down on the coaches a little bit. That was a bad loss for Texas. So if USC doesn't get it close to right against Texas, I still think it's going to be a loss. But if they don't get it close to right, it's going to be the sky has fallen for USC boosters.
8-4.
I'd be happy with 8-4 if 2 of those 8 was USC and Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. UCLA.
I'd be happy
UCLA.
with 7-5
Yeah.
if it was UCLA and Notre Dame. 2 of the wins were UCLA and Notre Dame.
John, you want to talk about UCLA at least beating the point spread?
A while, but we kind of talked about it that they were going to go into a hostile environment there, and it wasn't going to be easy at all. But they went down the first.
Went right down and scored.
Right down and scored, and I'm like, wow, there's a little surprise, but I still believe that. I think for UCLA to be competitive in games, you're going to have to use that kid's legs. You're going to have to use him in I don't know if it's an option type of deal, but you're going to have to allow that kid to run a little bit more. And I know you don't want to do that because you don't have anybody really behind him, but he throws a strong ball. The tight end had a hell of a game, but you're overmatched every week. I mean, this kid Murray, by the way, that kid from Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma is the real deal. The kid Murray.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, obviously it's UCLA coming at him, but I mean, he had all day long, and when he did, he threw the football really good, and he can run, obviously too. They did lose their running back. Their star running back went down. I don't know if he's out for the season or not, but
It looks like it might be.
Robinson goes 16 for 26 for 254 yards. He struggled with the accuracy. I know this is all going to be new, but if he's going to play 13 to 15 freshmen per game, just go for it, right?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and like we just said, just give the kid as much time as you possibly can, and
That's right.
hopefully things will get better. I don't think they can get any worse, to be honest with you. So
Well, they're 3.5-point underdogs to Fresno State.
Right.
That's pretty bad.
yeah.
That's not good.
No, it's not good. It's not good. And for a Chip as a Saker,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a 3.5. They're 3.5-point underdogs.
Is that game here or there?
That's at Fresno.
Fresno.
Yeah, and so that's essentially
They
they're
had
saying
trouble
that
getting
those
Fresno
teams
to commit to come to UCLA.
those teams are even on a neutral field. That's what they're saying,
yeah.
except for the hook, right?
Yeah.
Those teams are
3 point, yeah.
even on a neutral field. They're saying that UCLA would be a 3-point favorite at the Rose Bowl. And again,
Fresno
you know what?
State.
Look, I'm not a UCLA fan, but what I would say to UCLA fans is, look, You should have expected this.
Yeah.
You should have been able to look at your talent and know that you don't have the talent yet. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to go 6-6 or 7-6 with Chip Kelly this year. It's okay. Everything's gonna be all right because I'm into this program thinking I'm gonna win 10 games immediately. He may have said that publicly, but he's just not. He's too smart a guy. It's what he's laying the foundation for next year. That's the stuff that scares me, right? As a USC
Yeah,
fan,
right, exactly.
right? I'm not. The Herm Edwards thing is funky. It's working. I don't
Holy-
get it, but I'm not scared of it.
And I'll tell you
right
right now that team at ASU, I watched probably the second half of that game. They can beat both USC and UCLA. That kid chucks it down there.
Oh.
Yeah, they're. I mean, they. Well, maybe USC's defense is a little bit better than UCLA's, but it's going to be. It's going to be, you're going to have to score way more than us, to be competitive. I was very impressed with what he's doing down there, and we thought for sure this kid, they were going to win like 4 games, 5 games. They're competitive. Arizona on the
What
I think the team, the sleeper is Utah. Utah, I think, is a sleeper in the South to worry about, but Arizona looks brutal. That's Kevin Sutherland down there is struggling.
Sumlin, yeah.
You're asking a running quarterback to start sitting in the pocket. And it's not working. It's not working at all. So
no, Khalil Tate at his best was out of the pocket
and
run pass option
and made the DBs and corners go, oh, is he running? Is he throwing?
Yeah.
What's he
Right.
doing? And then
right.
So but yeah, it's this work in progress with UCLA. I mean, I probably can sit here and talk about the same thing that's going to happen at Fresno next week. It's going to be a struggle to move the football. It's going to be inconsistency from the quarterback position. They're going to have to. I would assume they're going to have to obviously run the ball to be successful up there, and hopefully their D line can hang in there. You're playing 13 to 15 true freshmen.
Absolutely.
That's what you're gonna. That's what you're gonna get.
Expect. Exactly.
You're playing against big boys now. It's not Friday Night Lights. So.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Look. They're not going to be fine this year. They're just not. They're not. They'll win a couple of games. They'll steal a couple of games, and they'll be okay. But you have to unhitch your wagon from that.
Yeah.
If that's what you're thinking is going to happen this year for the Bruins.
Exactly.
But the sky's not falling.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, it is if you thought they were going to win the Pac-12 South and that they were going to go to a big bowl game and Chip Kelly was going to win double digits. If
Not gonna happen.
that's what you were expecting, you're ridiculous, but
The Dodgers and their difficulties. Do you have a late score on that game, John?
No, I'll look. Go ahead.
It was 3-0 when I came in. Inconsistency, and that what you?
Yeah, we were talking about that off the air. That
Right.
Some of the guys that they were relying on. Stripling went down. And he was throwing great earlier in the year. Alex Wood was a revelation last season, and then the second half he hasn't been as good. The game that I went to a couple of weeks ago, Rich Hill gave up 4 runs before. It was 4-0 Mets in a series that they dropped to a bad
2 out of
team.
3. Yeah.
They dropped to a bad team. And again, that's the Dodgers, pretty much in a nutshell. They play 3 out of. They take 3 out of 4 from Arizona in a must-win series.
Yeah, that's great momentum.
And a great momentum, and they couldn't parlay it into anything. Both Arizona and the Dodgers are behind Colorado. And again, they hit too many solo shots. They don't string together a lot of hits. Now it's even worse for Roberts because now he has 17 pitchers and doesn't know what to do with any of them, right? It's flip a coin at some point. Analytics at some point becomes about just keep trying these same things. Let's just keep going with the numbers and it averages out, right? We talked about this. The Dodgers were underachieving.
Exactly, yeah.
The Dodgers were underachieving according to the runs that they've created and the runs that they've scored and the run differential. They're underachieving.
3-1 final loss.
3-1 for Cincinnati.
Yeah, and again, so now you've dropped at least 2 out of 3 to the Reds, right? And they're going to have to pull a rabbit out of a hat in St. Louis. You can't.
Looked at it when September started, right? There's a couple things you got to look at. You started looking at the whole schedule, and you're like, okay, I got 3 against the Reds, 2 or 3 against the Reds. You got 3 against the Reds. You got 3 against the Padres coming up, right?
Exactly.
And those are like you got to win those series.
Got to
right?
win 5 of those.
And then you go into Colorado and you take the series, which is what which is great, but you can't give it away right back at it. You go bust your butt and win 2 out of 3 against Colorado, and then you go ahead and lose 2 in a row to Cincinnati.
Right.
You can't do that, and that's a team right now that's doesn't deserve to be in the postseason, right? Playing that kind of baseball. But
you never know what you're going to get.
Obviously, they're not going to make it easy, and I don't care. That last weekend, I don't care if the Giants are the worst team in baseball.
3 at San Francisco.
They'll play them tough.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's more of a rivalry, right? You always raise your levels, So they're not making it easy.
This is the problem with the Dodgers. It's so unexpected that it's almost expected. They've scored 1 run now in 2 games against the Reds.
Yeah.
That's dreadful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just dreadful. And right now, as a fan, it's like, come on, guys, let's get the last game in Cincinnati and take 3 out of 4 from St. Louis and take care of business. But there's another part of me that just the pragmatic part that's going, it doesn't matter. This team is not built for the postseason. They're not good enough to win in the postseason. A good pitcher will stop them. And even if they get a lead, that bullpen just has no clue how to hold it.
Cincinnati doesn't exactly have a Cy Young award-winning pitching staff either.
No. There used to be that time when it was like, wow, God, you got to build that bridge to Kenley and then just get it to Kenley. They're terrible in the ninth.
No,
and a lot of that is because Kenley forgets how to be a dominant pitcher sometimes.
You can't win a pennant, with a whip of 2 in the ninth. That ain't gonna happen. Like, that's terrible. I mean, that's just you can't do that. I mean, that's what was so successful. These teams, the Indians and the Astros and these teams like Boston, these teams are successful because they got a 7, 8, and 9 punch, right? And right now the Dodgers don't have that or they haven't found that 7, 8, 9 punch yet, and they better figure it out fast because that's what you're expecting your guy to go 5 innings to 6 innings at the most, maybe not see the third time around in the lineup, and hand it off to your guys that close it and shut it down. And right now, it's not
and the guys that they acquired at the trade deadline and. It's woeful, and it's just it doesn't feel like it's going to get better. It felt like that when after that impressive series to come from behind in a couple of games and beat Arizona 3 out of 4. It felt like, wow, okay, this feels right, and then they turn around and poop their pants against the Mets, and then again it feels like, okay, they did some good things. They held on in a park that is notorious.
Yeah, then
they held on. They survived, right? They overcame. They survived, and then they pooped their pants against the crappy Reds.
I mean, I'm watching. You're watching how these elite teams are doing right now, like the Astros and Boston, and they're not making these mistakes.
They're beating teams they should beat.
Exactly. Right. They're beating them on the road too. They're going into their house and they're beating them, and then. Starting to play it, and right now I think the Dodgers are still kind of trying to find themselves.
A little late in the season to do that.
I mean, I've only in the last 5 or 6 games saw them string together a really good inning. I think it was when Hill played. Remember when Hill pitched?
It was the game I was at. I enjoyed it.
They threw 4, 5, 6 runs
back
in
to
that
back
one
doubles,
inning. And
hitting
hitting the ball the other way and doing all that kind of stuff. But you're right, Vince. I mean, you pay these guys money because we're going to set the table for you, and you got to drive them in. And either the table's not being set, or when it's set, they're not not coming through and finding a gap or something like that. And that's what these other elite teams are doing. I'm telling you, I looked at it again today. I still wouldn't want to face the A's.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't want to face the A's.
Just in going back to the the Dodgers and the problems that they have, by being behind. Is to catch up to. That's just one problem, right? And we talked about the bullpen. That's another problem. Inconsistency in driving in runs. That's another problem for the Dodgers. And then they're barely a game or two over 500 at home. That's a significant problem.
Yep.
These are all things that the individual symptoms may not seem like something, but you add them all together and it's like that patient is dying.
You got to win it. Yeah, you got to win at home. You got to be overpowering at home.
Yeah.
Split on the road and dominate at home. That's what you got to do. Looking at the Arizona finishes with 3 at San Diego, but before that they've got the Cubs for 3, Colorado for 3, and the Dodgers for 3. So Arizona could be out of it before they go to San Diego.
And they're already chasing now. They're already 3 behind, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Colorado has Philly, who's just excused themselves from the playoffs, and 3 against Washington at home for Colorado. So they may have the tougher road to hoe, but they're going to might have an advantage down the final week.
I mean, the Dodgers have the Padres and the Giants for 6 games. They either got to sweep one of those or they got to go win at least 2 to 3. But
like Vince said,
the Giants are going to play them as tough as
the Giants.
Let me tell you right now, the Giants could be it could have all spring training guys on that field, and they know that if we can actually be the spoiler, that would be phenomenal. And that's how they hate each other, right? So, I mean, I don't think this is going to be easy, and I think this whole thing's going to come down to the last week, obviously. So it's going to be everybody.
I think that's optimistic.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that's going to be the division to watch. Are close to shutting it. Oh no, they're only got a 3-game. The Indians are about to do it.
Yeah, they're done.
Boston's got a good lead. But the Cubs are close, and actually the Astros are close. So baseball's going to get real interesting here in the next 2 weeks. So should be fun.
Let's talk a little bit about the Angels. Not much to talk about, really. If Ohtani out, they're thinking about DHing him the rest of the year. I saw an article today where they're projecting him to be the opening day starter in 2020.
Well, I guess my question is this. You're 19 games out of first place. Why is it important for him to finish the season?
He wants to.
I know he wants to, but you know what? We got to get you healthy.
It's not going to make any difference in the heat. You wouldn't if he had.
I would rather him actually be full, almost 100% coming in. Just because he wants to? I don't know if you almost got to tell him like, no, we got to get you under the knife now. I mean, Pujols went in for a knee deal, and now he just went in for a wrist deal, and we still owe him $87 million for the next 3 years, right? So if Ohtani's going to be my DH for next year because he's still doing all the rehab stuff, and I don't know if Pujols is going to be healthy, I want him to be ready in January. I don't want him to be ready February 14th. I want him to be ready in January. Something else could go wrong. He could actually go and round a base or slide in or do something else and screw up his knee. I don't know. I don't know if it's just is he trying to win Rookie of the Year? I don't know if he's trying to do something like that, or he has incentives there that if he hits another couple home runs, he makes more money.
I'm not sure about how his contract
I don't know what's
I don't
going
either.
on there, but I just would. Out because I know they're talking about renegotiating his contract, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's the last 2 weeks you take him out, but maybe you let him play for another week or so. But I don't think it's important.
Surgery's not going to make any difference as far as when he comes back to pitch. He's not pitching next year no matter when.
But obviously, right. To hit, it's different,
the
right?
Hitting is. Yeah.
So is that a surgery that you go through that to do this, it's only going to be 2 months, 3 months. I don't know, right? So let's just say he goes under the
I think
9th
it's
of
3
October.
months.
So it's October, November, December. So is it a 4-month recovery? I don't know what it is. I just think it's weird that you can't throw for a year, but you can hit.
And like you say, the situation now, it doesn't matter.
But
whether he plays or not.
look, I don't follow the American League as closely as I do the National League. Are there any exclusive?
Cruz in Seattle is a full DH, I think.
Cruz is a full DH.
I think.
You're telling me he hasn't played 1 inning in the field?
I don't think so.
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Trumbo in Baltimore.
Seattle.
Trumbo's
good,
played.
right?
It plays third. He plays left field sometimes.
Well,
Yeah, that's the problem with trying to rehab from a Tommy John. I mean, if he's going to eventually be a pitcher, but you want him to be an exclusive DH, he's good enough to do that. But you're taking away flexibility. I mean, you got to play in National League parks,
Exactly.
right? I mean, there's going to be several games a year. You're going to be playing in National League parks. There's
just pinch hits there.
Yeah, I guess.
I just find it wild that you can't do anything like this for a year, but you can do this in 4 months. That's just a little weird to me. That's for a living. I wouldn't know.
I know it can be done. I mean, I've seen it, and we talked about this. I think it was a kid from Vanderbilt, and there was a kid from UCI. I can't remember his name. The Asian kid who's with the Brewers now, who got drafted by the Brewers. I mean, he spent the whole year holding off on Tommy John surgery and just playing DHing. I think he played a little first base, but because he had to in an emergency or something like that. But the guy put off Tommy John and hit the whole year. So I mean, it can be done. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't know that's ideal. We need to ask an orthopedist, right? Is that an ideal situation? Is to have Tommy John surgery and then not just stay off of it? I mean, I know you can hit after Tommy John surgery. Pitcher, I don't think that's the most cautious.
Yeah, that might not be the best way to rehab
approach, right?
Could be right on that. Nothing going on in the NBA to talk about except Llewellyn Dang.
There, John?
No, volume's on. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Hold on. Please hold. There we
John,
go.
your buddy Spawn from Australia says good day, mate.
All right. So go ahead. Sorry.
You know who that is? Because he says hello.
Spawn.
Buddy Spawn.
Oh, Buddy Spawn. Yeah.
Says hello.
Triton. Tell him I said hello.
Oh, hi, buddy.
Yeah. Turned into a rugby guy. Yeah.
All Blacks?
He also
he's in
He also
Australia.
used to be a NHL hockey referee. I don't know if it was NHL. I think it was more like lower levels, but.
Well, he's
AHL.
on. Why don't you answer the question, buddy? Whether it was the. Let us know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Let's see. We got. You want to talk about the final round of the?
Well, it got rained out on Sunday,
but they
right?
played Monday.
But they played Monday, and they got it in. How they got it in, I have no idea. But you could totally tell. It was like, I think on Thursday was 90 degrees. Guys were sweating bullets, and by the time the tournament, they were all in sweaters and cold and rainy, and so a big front moved in there. Keegan Bradley won his 4th tour event in his career. Has moved himself way up the rankings, and now they go to the Tour Championship. And I think there's roughly about 5 guys that can only win this thing. So Justin Rose, who is it? Justin Rose, Justin Thomas. There's only 5 guys really kind of on the FedEx that could actually go, because you win about a 1. So and then through that, Tony Finau got picked as the 4th pick for the Ryder Cup. So both teams are set.
That was your prediction last week.
Yeah, and
now how does he feel being the 4th guy?
I guess he's fine. He's ecstatic. It's his first one. I know I'm not a big fan of that. I think they should all be picked at the same time. But I did hear some rumblings that if Xander Shuffle actually would have won anyways, I think that Furyk had already made up his mind that he was going to go with Finau. I mean, he's had a hell of a year. He's top 10 in all 4 majors and has played very consistent. Another bomber, so he's another bomber that's going over there. I'm curious to see if I can find out how they're going to
pair those
create the golf course for them and try to. I don't know if it's going to try to take the driver out of these guys' hands a lot. I have to do some more research on that for the next. And I think there's only 32 guys going. So
Tiger had a good tournament. 17 under, 3 back.
Again,
consistent
consistently just playing a lot of golf, and I'm
Playing good
actually
golf.
surprised because the body's holding up, and he's able to still shoot the low numbers and be in contention. And this is probably the most golf he's ever played in a long, long time.
He's playing because he's playing. He's not taking time off either.
No, he's just going week to week. Yeah, and because he has to because of where his number is, right? So now he goes in the Tour Championship, and hopefully he gets. I mean, I guarantee you, there's a lot of those guys that made the Tour Championship are going to make a lot of money this week. But I mean, some of these Ryder Cup guys are like, if I can't make all the money, at the top, I really wouldn't mind having a little rest. But they'll get on a charter there from I think it's Atlanta, and they'll head on over to Paris and
I think that's all I've got, unless you guys.
No, I think we've covered just about.
I think we did it all.
The Rams. That was pretty much the highlight, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be quite interesting. Who's USC have next week?
Texas.
There you go.
Dallas or Irving or whatever it is.
Oh, is it in?
It's down there.
It's in Jerry's place.
Jerry's place. Yeah.
Oh,
Jerry's
okay.
kids.
That actually helps USC, I think, a little bit.
Not much.
I don't know. Austin's probably tougher to play in.
Last time we played there, we got smoked by Alabama.
Well, that was Alabama. It's not Texas.
No.
Let alone Texas actually. In Austin is a different team than I think it is in Jerry's place, but I don't know. We'll see.
They lost Cotton Bowl there too.
Yeah, Cotton Bowl.
So they've been beat twice
Dallas.
there. Trojans can't win at Jerry World.
Well, I think that's it for tonight. Then we'll talk to you all next week, and we are out.
Good night.
Peace.